Hello everyone, Neonstar here, and in March of 2021, I was hit by a car. This event ended up being the catalyst for future health issues, and it's only slightly clickbait. Let's start off with some backstory. Around the summer of 2019, I started visiting my sister's house regularly. We had our internet shut down for a while, so my sister Destiny asked me to visit, mostly so I could keep reading Unlimited Blade Works. This was also when Dee introduced me to the fate of Grand Order. She had a tablet that she didn't really use, so she logged in for me until our internet came back. Dee's house wasn't too far away, like 30 to 40 minutes away from our apartments, so once a week I'd pop my headphones in and walk to her house. And 99% of the time I'd also walk back home. When the Backstreet Boys started touring in 2020, I had to stop visiting. We ended up not seeing each other for a little while. I'd dropped out of high school due to seizure-related issues by this point, so seeing my sister was my one social interaction. I saw my sister in May for her birthday, where her ex's mom gave me a handmade mask. I'm asking for a new one since this one is kinda garbage, but I digress. Around June, my mental health took a nosedive. I mentioned to Dee that I hadn't showered because I was so out of energy, so she suggested that I started coming over again, this time having sleepovers. Since both of our households were isolating, we figured it would be okay. I know that's probably irresponsible of us, but I was thriving. We stopped having sleepovers around 2021. I think it was because my sister was able to go back to work. This was around the time I started working for her. I won't go into detail since it's not my story to tell, but Dee's housemates wouldn't clean anything, so she started paying me $50 a visit to clean her dishes. This is how I bought a SpongeBob Game Boy Advance and my drawing tablet. On March 16th, I had finished working, so Dee and I wanted to go to Arby's. They said they were open, so we started walking there. We talked about a lot of things, one of which being our fear of driving. I remember talking about being afraid of being in a car accident. God's a comedian, and he's funnier than all of us. The Arby's was in fact not open, so we just ordered McDonald's after that, and even got some for our dad. After we hung out, it was time for me to walk home. And while I was walking, I had the worst panic attack of my life. Whenever I feel dizzy, my body goes into fight or flight, because it thinks I'm gonna have a seizure, whether I actually have one or not. It was this that led to me dropping out. I was already pretty far from Dee's house, so I didn't want to turn back. I was hyperventilating, and I was so freaked out that I had to turn my music off. Most of my panic came from the fact that if I did have a seizure, I was out on the street where no one could help me, and no one knew where I was. I could hit my head, get an ambulance called that we couldn't afford, or even kidnapped. It would take a while for anyone to even know I was missing. And having these thoughts going through my head only made it worse. I couldn't stop walking for anything. I tried to rest on a bench, but immediately had my vision start to fade, so I hopped back up and kept walking. Luckily, none of the streetlights stopped me for long. Eventually, I had to stop for this car to pull out into the street. I thought the guy saw me, and I started walking again. I would have waited longer if I didn't have my vision blink out again. As it turns out, I guess he didn't see me because he started pulling out. My brain screamed at me, but I didn't react fast enough. The car door slammed into my left arm. Once I saw the car had fully stopped, I ran around to the other side. The guy got out and asked if I was okay, and I just shouted, "Yeah," behind me, and kept running until I was out of breath. Funnily enough, my panic was halved. Still don't know how that happened. But the panic came back to its previous intensity eventually. Once I crossed the street, onto the stretch of road where you could see our apartment complex, it started snowing. In New Mexico, it doesn't really snow a lot, much less in March, but it was snowing anyway. Since I was panicking, I was overheating. I had to take off my jacket while it was snowing, and it still felt too warm. I managed to crawl my way back into our temp apartment and told my dad and sister what happened. My arm was kinda sore, so I took an ibuprofen and was relatively okay. I was more focused on the 2 games my dad got for me, which arrived while I was out. The next week came and I was weary of going outside. I'd never had such a long and intense panic attack, and I didn't want to have another one. I asked Dee to meet me halfway, and still almost turned back before I had crossed the street. I did my work and had a good time, but even with Dee walking me home, I still felt on edge. I stopped walking to her place after that. In fact, I stopped going out altogether. This was the beginning of my intense agoraphobia. My sister started walking to our place instead. She moved out of her ex's place not too long after, and I only visited her new house a couple times. The only reason I did was because her friend drove me there. I couldn't go outside at all, not even to see Dee, my favorite person and best friend. I got out of visiting the doctor because I nearly threw up from anxiety. I'm not sure how to fully express how bad my agoraphobia got. All I can tell you is it got bad. Especially since we didn't have a car after we were kicked out of the house. The only way to go anywhere was either walking or taking the bus, and both of those made my heart rate spike. Eventually I went to see a therapist. In order to actually get me there, we had to hire a medical transport service. It's like a taxi or Uber, but for medical reasons. I only saw this therapist twice before I realized that we weren't really clicking, and it's totally okay to stop seeing a professional if you don't feel like they're helping you. Afterwards, we had a meeting with a psychiatrist. We used our service to go to this hospital on the outskirts of town, only to have a Zoom meeting in an empty room. What a waste of gas. We were able to talk to her at home afterwards, and I got put on medication. I was taking sertraline in increasing increments. Eventually I got put on propranolol and hydroxyzine too. I didn't feel much difference. The psychiatrist just kept upping my meds, but I didn't really feel much. When we told her we were moving to Texas, she prescribed me a 3-month supply of each of my meds. This was supposed to last until I found a new psychiatrist. But after we moved, our health insurance was cut, and our current health insurance sucks, so I couldn't get any more. After avoiding the temptation, I had to slowly ease myself off my meds. The withdrawals were hell, and I didn't even want to move to Texas. As of the time I'm recording this, I'm still suffering from my agoraphobia. I don't have a job because of this, and I don't check enough boxes for disability checks, so... When I originally wrote this, I hadn't gone out except for being in my dad's car when we went through a drive-thru. But my sister visited for about a week during Christmas, and we went out to a strip of stores. We went to a comic book store, a toy store, a candy store, a record store, and most importantly, an arcade. We mostly played Vocaloid songs on the U-Beat machine. I was surprised at how easily I could go out and have fun. I'm not sure if I could do it again without my sister keeping me grounded, but it was definitely a good step in the right direction. We were also forced out of my dad's girlfriend's house because of an incident, like a couple days before Thanksgiving, so that got me out of the house. But I'll talk more about all of that another time. And that's all I have for today. In summary, I was hit by a car and started suffering from intense agoraphobia. I'm not sure if saying I got hit by a car is an over-exaggeration or not, but I was, technically, hit by a car. I hope my agoraphobia can be improved, since being stuck inside sucks so much. I'm sure you can all relate to that sentiment. The lesson for today is that life is hell, and I wish I was never born. If you also hate life, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And if you love life, what are you doing here? Sorry about that. Anyway, I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Bye!